Don't speak after midnight. The car rolled to a stop just outside the village of Ashvale. Jenny glanced at her map, frowning. She could barely see the road ahead through the thick forest that lined the way, and her phone's GPS was useless in the spotty reception. The glowing "Welcome to Ashvale" sign looked like it hadn't been updated in decades. It flickered faintly, casting eerie shadows across the dirt path. Are we really staying here? Max, her boyfriend, leaned forward from the passenger seat, his tone skeptical. This place screams horror movie. It's cheap, and it's only for a night, Jenny replied, gripping the steering wheel tighter. Besides, I didn't hear you complaining when I booked the trip to the city. Max sighed and leaned back, fiddling with the radio. Static, of course. The village itself was quaint, almost frozen in time. Wooden houses with thatched roofs stood in rows, their dimly lit windows creating an unsettling, ghostly glow. Jenny parked outside the inn, a two-story building with a creaky sign that read Ashvale Rest. Inside, an old woman greeted them at the desk. Her hair was tied in a tight bun, and her thin glasses perched precariously on her nose. You're the visitors from out of town, she said, her voice gravelly but kind. Welcome to Ashvale. You'll find it peaceful here, but there's one thing you must know. Jenny exchanged a look with Max. And what's that? The woman's expression turned grave. No one speaks after midnight. It's a rule we all follow. For your safety. Max snorted. What kind of rule is that? The woman's gaze didn't waver. A necessary one. She handed them an old-fashioned room key. Your room is at the end of the hall upstairs. Please heed my warning. Jenny nodded politely, brushing it off as a local superstition. As they climbed the creaking stairs to their room, Max whispered, "This place is creepy as hell." "It's just one night," Jenny replied. "Let's not make a big deal out of it." Their room was simple but cozy, with wooden furniture and an old iron-framed bed. A small window overlooked the village square, where the faint glow of a single street lamp illuminated the cobblestone streets. Max plopped onto the bed, scrolling through his phone. "Still no service," he muttered. "What are we supposed to do here?" Jenny unpacked their overnight bags and glanced at the clock. 11:15 p.m. "We'll sleep soon. Let's just relax, I guess." But relaxing was hard. The village was unnervingly silent. No cars, no voices, not even the distant sound of animals. At 11:55 p.m., the silence deepened. Jenny noticed at first an oppressive, heavy stillness that seemed to press against her ears. Even Max fell quiet, staring out the window. "It's just superstition," Jenny whispered, though her voice faltered. Then, at exactly midnight, there was a sound. At first, it was faint, like a breeze brushing against their ears. But it grew louder, more distinct whispers, dozens of them.
"Do you hear that?" Max asked, his voice barely audible. Jenny nodded, frozen. The whispers didn't make sense. They weren't in English or any language she'd ever heard. They seemed to seep into the room from everywhere, the walls, the floor, the window. And then came the knock, a soft, deliberate rap on the door. Jenny and Max exchanged panicked glances. Who would be knocking this late? Jenny hissed. Max stood, moving toward the door. "Wait." Jenny grabbed his arm. She said not to speak after midnight. "It's probably just someone playing a prank." Max whispered back, but he didn't open the door. The knocking stopped. The whispers, however, grew louder. The clock ticked past 12:30. The whispers were unbearable now, a cacophony of voices circling them. Max, growing agitated, shouted, "Enough already." The moment the words left his mouth, the whispers stopped. Complete silence fell. Then the door creaked open on its own. Jenny screamed, but no sound came out. Her voice gone. She grabbed Max's arm, shaking him, but he stood frozen, staring at the open doorway. A shadow moved beyond the threshold, not a person, something else. It was tall, impossibly thin, with glowing, hollow eyes. Max tried to back away, but the shadow surged forward, reaching out with long, spindly arms. Jenny yanked him toward the window, desperate for an escape. Jenny threw the window open, glancing down at the two-story drop. "We have to jump." Max hesitated. "What if?" The shadow screeched, a high-pitched, bone-chilling sound, and lunged. Without thinking, Jenny grabbed Max's hand and leapt. They hit the ground hard, pain shooting through Jenny's ankle. She forced herself up, dragging Max toward the car. Behind them, the shadow crawled out of the window, moving in naturally fast. "Get in," Jenny screamed, her voice finally returning. Max fumbled with the keys, and the car roared to life. They sped away, the shadow chasing them until they crossed the village's boundary. The next morning, they stopped at a gas station miles from Ashvale. The attendant, an older man, noticed their disheveled state. "You stayed in Ashvale?" he asked, eyes narrowing. Jenny nodded, trembling. "What's wrong with that place?" The man leaned in, lowering his voice. "Ashvale's cursed. Long ago, the villagers summoned something to protect them during a war, but they couldn't control it. Now, it only appears if someone speaks after midnight." "Why didn't anyone tell us the truth?" Max asked. "They did," the man said grimly, "but no one ever listens." Jenny and Max drove off in silence, the whispers of the night still echoing faintly in their minds.